This is Supernaught. My name is Beth Kelling, and I'm going to talk about spirituality, sobriety, and the spectrum of self. I've loved talking about spirituality for as long as I can remember, and I've been on a sobriety journey since 2020. The more I talk about sobriety, the stronger I become. The more I explore spirituality, the more fulfilled I feel. This is a space for stories and for the moments where struggle meets transformation. This is Supernaught. Mike Karnick, thank you for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you for asking. Yeah.
I asked you to pick a song for us to listen to before we started. What song did you pick?
I picked the outfield, Your Love. That's just been my go-to song to get into a feel-good mood.
Do you remember the first time you ever heard it?
One of the first times that it actually resonated in me, a buddy of mine, his former brother-in-law, was a singer in a band, and that was kind of their end of the night last song. It was actually a gentleman I was texting about the wiring issue. So he would do sound for him. I'd be at the bar with him, and that was the closing one. So it's kind of just a party song that we kind of got used to and enjoyed. So
Awesome. So you and I don't know each other super well. When I bartended, you would come in on Thursday nights, must have been after golf league.
Yep.
You would come in and get a beer or two. But that's about the extent that we know each other. But I asked you to come on because I recently saw that you just made it 2 years, no alcohol.
I did, April 9th. So 2 years of sobriety. It's not easy, I work at it every day, so.
Yeah. So let's start from the beginning. What started this journey?
My alcoholism runs in my family. My dad just recently admitted to being an alcoholic. My mother was not, maybe she still is, I guess. At 44, I'm not monitoring what they're doing as much anymore. My brother just recently got released from prison for the 9th time for drinking and drugs. So it ran heavy in my family, and I've always thought, I can control it. It's not an issue, I'd tell my wife, I'm done drinking. I'm going to quit. And I'd last a little bit and I'd be back in it. And April 8th of 23, we did a side-by-side ride for my birthday. And I made it from my house to Knife Lake. We were up to the Crow's Nest. And I got so blacked out drunk in a 2-mile ride that I don't remember anything. I got home. My son and I got into a huge fight, arguing. I woke up the next morning and said, I'm done. Like, it's not worth it. My kids are older. They see it. They understand what's going on. I know it's an issue in my family. So I told my wife, I said, I'm done. She kind of laughed and said, yep, I've heard this story 1,000 times and haven't touched it since.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how long from when you started drinking till you blacked out? That specific day?
An hour and a half, maybe.
Yeah. Isn't that wild?
I go back to that day. My wife and I have talked about it a lot. I had a Bloody Mary at my house in the morning when everybody got there. I had 1 beer driving up to the Crow's Nest. I had 1 beer and a shot at the Crow's Nest and don't remember anything after that.
Yeah, and I heard it explained on Rogan that your brain just stops recording once it sees this mixture of alcohol happening and the speed that you're drinking at. It's just yeah, we're done.
Yeah.
There's nothing new that's going to happen here. We're just going to stop recording.
Yeah.
It's wild.
It was a crazy feeling because when I woke up the next morning, I had thought we had gone 100 miles on the side-by-side drinking and having a good time, and Katie's like, we made it to the Crow's Nest and turned around and you got into a huge fight and kids and I are done. We're either you're done or we're done. And I was like, whoa, it was that bad? And, Blake wouldn't look at me. My daughter was in tears and I was like, so trying to replay everybody had come back to our house because they had seen we left and they could hear Blake and I yelling at each other in the house and they were all worried, like, what the hell's going on? And it was just a feeling that I never wanted to feel again. I was like, what's the enjoyment in it? The trade-off of a night of being drunk to what that wasn't worth it. So.
Yeah. And so you wake up in the morning, you're like, I'm done. How many days, weeks, months until you started questioning again, do I really want to do this?
2 days. you know. I didn't realize I was bad as I was. I'd get home from work, Katie'd go into our room, watch TV, the kids would go down to their room. So I'd drink beer. I'd sit there and drink a case of beer a night. We'd have dinner, and I'd put vodka in my water so that they wouldn't realize I was drinking.
Yeah.
So then I quit that day. The next day, I was like, all right, I can handle this. It's one day. Well, then the next day, I was like, what are we going to do? Should we go get dinner? And we go to the Crystal, and Gabe was working, and he's like, Bush Light? And I just froze. I was like, no, water? And he just was kind of took back because every time I go in there, it was the same thing, day in and day out. And so, yeah, it was 48 hours. I was wanting to drink again, but
What do you think was different this time?
the biggest thing is I wanted to do it for me this time. Every other time that I've said it was just trying to not fight with Katie anymore, trying to, there was a legal issue that I went through about 10 years ago. It's like, okay, you have to stop now for a year. Other than the one time since I've been 21, I never got in trouble. I did a lot of questionable things and never got a DUI, never got any tickets. I got into one bar fight, but there was always something that was just like, nope, you're safe, go home, you're fine. But then I'd get up and do it again. And it got worse and worse and worse. Like I said, nights driving home that I don't remember. Coming home from St. Cloud, see a taillights, turn off on a dirt road because I knew I was drunk, been drinking all day. So this time it was for me. I was like, I think I've had it. Like you just said, sometimes your body just says, I'm done. It's the same thing, shut it off. And that's what I did.
So 2 days after was hard. Then what was it like after that?
So that following Monday, I went back to work. There was a gentleman at work that I didn't know he was a recovering alcoholic of, I think he had 6 years sobriety at that point. But he had come in and he's early with me every morning. So we'd always talk about, what did you do this weekend? And, I always tell him, I was out drinking, blah, blah. And he never said anything, never pushed anything. This time he come in and he goes, how was your weekend? And I said, miserable. And he goes, what do you mean? I go, I quit drinking. So I was, pissed off all weekend. Sorry, upset all weekend. I was, and he kind of took a step back, walked away, let me be. Later that day he came back and he's like, hands me, it was not a business card, but kind of like a Post-it note. And it was a number. And I was like, who's this? He said, it's my uncle. Give him a call. I said, okay. So I called the number and I kind of figured I knew where this was going. And it was a guy that runs AA meetings. And he's like, hey, why don't you come down and talk with me? So I started doing Wednesday night AA meetings.
Wonderful.
So that lasted for about a year. Yeah, about the first year. And then when I switched jobs and I wasn't in St. Cloud, it's like tough to get to a Wednesday night meeting in St. Cloud if I'm ending my day in Cannon Falls, Minnesota. So,
But you got what you needed out of it, and
yeah, it definitely did. There's still some online ones that I'll go to on weeks that I'm still struggling. Hop into one and then come back out, or talk to my kids and wife about it. So,
yeah. So when is it the hardest? When you're with friends or stressed out? Does something trigger?
I would say the hardest is summertime, nice out, golfing, out on the lake, where it's just like, why can whoever have one beer and be fine? Because I know I can't. Because if I were to ever have one beer, it's going to lead to 30. And so that's when I get stressed out. Like, why can't I just have one? Why can't I enjoy one? We're out golfing. These guys are ordering drinks, and I'm getting a Gatorade or a Diet Coke.
Yeah. So it's like that victim mentality. And I can definitely spiral into that. And then usually I just convince myself, or I did convince myself, well, I can. I'll just be stronger this time. But it
I always tell
never
myself,
worked out.
not today.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
be on the golf course, I'm just not going to drink today.
Yeah.
And I trick myself to think that, well, if this was tomorrow, maybe I would try it again.
Yeah.
But I'm always like, no, just not today. So when people that didn't know I was sober, and they would be like, oh, I'll get the first one. No, I'm just not going to drink today. And it was never pressured. What do you mean you're not drinking? Why would you quit? What are you quitting for? I'd never had that. because I just told them, I'm not drinking today. And it never caught on that every time we got together, I was not drinking that day.
Yeah. Every time I said, I'm not drinking today, they said, oh, you're pregnant.
Yeah, well, I don't have that problem, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what helped me through it, I guess.
Was that something you learned at AA? Because I think I've heard that as
Yeah.
an AA thing
Yes.
before, just
Yep.
one day at a time.
Yep. So, not my sponsor, whatever he would call him, but it was his other nephew, Chad. He was the one that he could tell one day I was struggling. And I was in there, it was a Wednesday night, and he's just like, you're having a hard time today. And I don't remember if it was around my birthday again or what, I don't remember the exact date. And he's the one that said, hey, when you go out tonight to dinner with whoever you're going with, just tell everyone you're not drinking tonight. Just take it tonight. And then tomorrow tell yourself again, I'm not drinking. That's what stuck. So, yeah, I was at AA.
Mm-hmm. What's the best thing that's came out of this 2 years?
The relationship with my kids. One of the biggest things that I had to swallow was my own pride, thinking that I wasn't the issue. Alcoholics Anonymous will teach you that, look at yourself. Like, there's a reason I was drinking so heavily every night. But when I quit, they realized I was serious and I was taking it serious. Well, then all of a sudden they started hanging out more. They weren't going into their rooms. We were doing more things as a family. We were, just the joy in them again. And having my daughter tell me, hey, I really like this version of Dad. Like, don't go back to the old version.
How long in before she said that?
Probably about 6 months.
That's when they started to realize this is for real?
Yeah, because before, I could shut it off and not drink for a couple weeks, a month, but then all of a sudden, oh, Dad's having just a beer tonight. Dad had a rough day at work. Dad's going golfing, whatever it may be. But at about the 6-month mark, they were like, wait, you're really not drinking. And we had a family reunion in there. We had a couple other things that went on, and I was like, no, I'm good. So.
What would you say to anyone that is going through that cycle of saying they're going to quitting for a day or two?
Don't give up. That's the easy way out is giving up. I mean, that's the only thing I keep saying to myself is it's easy to start drinking again. It's hard to stop. Like, it truly is. Everywhere I go, I mean, everyone's drinking. That's just, kids are in sports that we meet up before and after games at the bar where, as families come over, it's bringing coolers of beer as we're outside by siding, but just don't give up. Like,
yeah. When we couldn't get the electric to work for a minute, I'm like, okay, should we go to the bar for a drink? That's
right.
just like the automatic thing to think, like, until we get it figured out. But then I'm
out.
like, because I'm used to going to the bar now and having water, soda water. But I just laughed thinking, like, oh, that'd be a silly thing to do.
100%. 2 years ago, I'd have been like, well, let's just have a beer. Let's hang out until this is, Now I'm drinking Diet Coke and laughing about it, not stressing over it. Like, we'll figure it out. It's something as easy as moving an electrical cord. So.
Yeah. So, was there times that you had to say no to things because you knew it would just be too hard to be in that situation?
Yeah, there was definitely plenty of times. One that sticks out was a football game. All my close buddies were going to go to a Vikings game. And it was probably around that 9-month mark. And let's go. We can all stay down in Inver Grove. My buddy lives right down by the TCO fields down there. It was spring. It was OTAs. So it was right about this time 2 years ago. And we used to go to the Vikings training camp, do the night practice, and then hang out and just drink. And, well, come on, let's come down. And I was like, not tonight. Not this year. I got something going on. And I don't know what we did. I think we ended up going up towards Brainerd and just getting a hotel room with the kids. But I had to avoid that situation because I knew I would have fell back into it. Like, I wasn't ready to be around those guys yet. So.
And so that was 8-9 months in.
Yeah.
How are you feeling now?
I feel great now. Waking up in the morning and not regretting anything I did, said, acted, not asking Katie, my wife, hey, was I an ass last night? Was I this? I wake up every morning, I remember everything, and don't regret anything. And Katie doesn't drink much. I mean, she'll have a couple White Claws here and there, but it's great knowing that I'll drive us. Like, because before we both would drink and then get behind the wheel of a car. And again, knock on wood, nothing ever legally happened to us. Where now it's like, you can go out and have a few, and then I'll come get you.
Yeah.
Or like the other night when we were at trivia, you can have 2 or 3, and I'm just going to drive us home when we're ready to go.
Yeah.
Best part about being sober, when you're at the bar and you see the light switch flip on everybody else, I just walk away. Like, all right, it's been fun. It's going to get to a crap show now. So
Yeah. And getting the bill isn't as bad anymore either.
yeah, no, it's a lot cheaper. No, that's the thing. Yeah, I bought a side-by-side. I'm sending my wife and kids to Europe. Like, start looking at an app that I downloaded, and I think in 2 years I've saved $15,000.
Wow.
You know, so
that's
it's
cool to look at.
It's eye-opening. And that's not including shots or anything. That was just what I was spending on cases of beer on average. So, you know, I opened that up like on my 2-year. I opened it up and I was like, oh, I'm at whatever it was, $13,000. And then you start reflecting back, and it's like, well, I got a new side by side. We finished our basement. I've got all of this, and it's like, none of that would have happened.
Plus all the mornings of feeling good.
Oh yeah, now and back then in that April, that day that I woke up was one of the first times that I ever got hungover the next day and sick. You know, all the years that I was drunk, I've thrown up at night and been sick, but never the next day. And I think that was just my body saying, "Hey, we're done." So.
Yeah, and I love this story so much because that's what I'm most interested in is people who are able to stop their addictions before something illegal or horrible happens, before they hurt themselves or somebody. You know, and that's like what I want to get to is like, what is this thing that changed this time? So do you think how much of it had to do with this coworker giving you this phone number?
That probably more than I've thought of until today, because I don't know, had I not called, had I not gone to those AA meetings, had I not at least opened up and reflect on what I was doing and what the real cause of why I was drinking so much. You know, there was a depression stage. There's stuff that went on back when I was a kid and growing up, and still dealing with some stuff today, but I didn't want to admit to any of it. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to bring it up. It was kind of that sore subject. Yep, just shove it away. So then you get home, your kids leave you, they go downstairs, the wife goes in their room because she doesn't want to be around it. Well, now I'm alone again. You're sitting there, what do you do?
It's a cycle.
Yeah, all the time, yeah. That's what it was.
Yeah, so in other episodes I've talked about like what have people replaced it with? So do you think the AA?
So at first, that's what it was. I replaced it. Funny thing is, I replaced alcohol with Oreo cookies at first. And
Yeah, I get you.
I mean, it's the sugar that you miss. And
Yes.
I blew up to just about 300 pounds. And I was like, okay, this isn't working. So, you know, cut out sugars and whatnot. But then AA replaced it. And then after that, I was like, well, I got to find something. So I kind of dove more into work, took a leadership role at work, was like, all right, let's deal with that. That lasted for about a year of it. And then when I switched jobs a year ago or whatever it was, kind of had nothing, just more hanging out with the family and whatnot until recently Blake and I started making hats at home, cutting leather patches and doing
Is
hats.
that the True North
Yeah,
Designs?
yep.
I was looking on your Facebook today and I didn't know if that was you
Yep.
or somebody you were promoting.
So my son and I started that, and it's just something that come home, we go downstairs, and we can make hats. I bought a laser so I can engrave anything.
How did this start, all this creativity?
I don't know how the creativity started. I'm a hat guy. I've got a ton of hats, and there's a guy down in Cambridge that I was buying them for, and they're 30, 40, 50 bucks a hat, depending on what you're getting. And Blake wants to go into business. He wants to start a business.
And that's your son?
Yep. And I was like, why don't we just buy a laser and do this ourselves?
Wow.
So started that, I don't know, 3 weeks ago now. And I don't know, I think I'm sold upwards of $2,500 worth of stuff in 3 weeks.
Oh my gosh, are you gonna go on Shark Tank?
Right? Yeah. Start a GoFundMe or
Yeah.
yeah. No, it's just something fun downstairs.
Yeah.
It keeps Blake and I talking. He's learning about how to order the right stuff and keep a balance sheet and profit and loss, and
How
doesn't
beautiful.
realize that it's not all money coming in all the time. There's a lot going out first. So
Yeah, but spending all this time with him, creating a business, he's learning so much, getting to use your
I'm
creativity.
hoping
That's
he's
so
learning.
awesome.
I'm hoping he's learning. We'll see.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Awesome. So did this strain any of your relationships with your friends or your family, since your family big drinkers?
yes. More so friends, and not totally in a bad way, but you can definitely tell they stopped calling to hang out as much. And I think talking to a bunch of them, they stopped calling because they wanted to drink and they didn't want to feel like they were pressuring me to drink again. They kind of wanted to, when you're ready, you call us type mentality is what I think came across. But that first year when you're used to being out every weekend and with the same group of friends every Friday and Saturday night, they're not calling anymore. And you see them on social media and they're at all these bars and they're doing all this stuff that I used to do with them. And it's like, I still want to do it. Like, I'm just not going to drink.
Yeah, so it was like they weren't calling because they were trying to protect you, but were you calling them? Or
No,
did you
I
got
didn't
insecure
either.
and you're like,
yeah.
yeah.
Again, you reflect back to what wasn't I doing? I never reached out to them
yeah,
and said, hey, I'll come hang out. Let's go do this again. I just thought they didn't want to be around me because I wasn't drinking.
like I'm not as fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, for sure. So now has that changed and you're reaching out to people again?
Yeah, we're going back doing the old same things that we did. I mean, big thing was golf, hanging out with the guys here and all going to Kev's Depot afterwards. And I still go, still hang out.
Did you guys just go to Vegas?
We did. The end
How
of
did that go?
March, we went to Vegas and Lake Havasu for my good friend Justin's 50th. I was the only sober one there. So mixed feelings on it a little bit. I mean, I had a great time. It was a great time, but that's one of those times where why can't I just enjoy a few? I'm on vacation. What's one or two while I'm on vacation? But I have a good buddy of mine that lives out there. He's a realtor. He didn't really drink much, took us out on a boat. So I had somebody there that was somewhat sober and then 8 other people that weren't. But all in all, I mean, I was able to get in my car and go do whatever I wanted if they were going to go sit at a bar, drink. And
Yeah. Was there any moments where you were close to like just saying screw it?
no, they had, and that's where I found that Mick Ultra has a 0%. So I bought whatever it was, a 12-pack there, and I think I left 10 out of the 12. But the one day I was like, yeah, maybe I can have one. Katie's like, try one of those Ultra Zeros. So I tried one, and I was like, oh. And it just curbed that want. I had 2. We were playing beanbags in the backyard of our VRBO, and then I went back to Diet Coke.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was fine. So.
Yeah, the non-alcoholic wines can just help make me feel like fancy or like
Yeah.
like I'm not left out of this like romantic life that I always thought,
Yep.
I would grow old in. So yeah, I'm appreciative that there's so many more of those things coming out and just soda waters. Like I am glad that because I didn't like soda water.
Yep.
And then when I was golfing, I was really into the White Claws a few years ago. And now I like soda water and flavored soda water. So that just helps me not feel so left out too.
Liquid Death was my savior. When the first year I did a side-by-side ride up in Crane Lake, and it's a huge ATV drinking, whatever. And I brought a case of that. Well, people didn't realize it was just water. Because it's in a cool-looking can, and they thought it was a seltzer.
Yeah.
So nobody asked, are you not drinking? They were just like, oh, this is Liquid Death you're drinking. I was like, oh, it's just a new drink,
Yeah.
And played the whole weekend off, and it wasn't until the last day and someone looked at it and goes, this is just water.
Yeah.
Yep, it is.
Because people can't help it. They just feel kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's a change to them, and I was always the life of the party. I was that magnet. So then when you're not drunk and you're not acting crazy and you're just there to have a good time, but be mellow and normal. So
Yeah, I had a friend's mom come up to me at a get together. It was like 4th of July weekend or something. She's like, I went a month without drinking one time and I judged everybody around. So I know you're judging us. And I'm like, literally, I'm not. I don't want to be stuck at home by myself and I'm having fun. Like, I've learned to have fun, just as much fun.
I've come to find out there's a lot of insecurities that they have, and they, in my friend group, you used to
I
drink,
know,
you used to be fun. Why don't you? And it's like, are you not having fun? Well, yeah. Well, then what does it matter? Like, if I'm stumbling drunk or 100% sober, what does it matter if you're still having a good time?
Yeah. Yeah, it would be interesting to go more into depth with those people and like, why does it make you feel uncomfortable? I mean, I guess I get it because I used to judge people when they would come in the bar and have one drink an hour. I'm like, who are you? I could never even hang out with you. Like, I'd be like 3 shots in by now. But I don't know. It's just, it's wild. You just want people on the same plane as you, I guess, on the same level. So it makes sense.
And maybe they do think that I'm judging them, and that's why they don't,
But like 0% judgment.
Zero.
I was there. And I wish I was back there a lot of times. I wish I could be a person that didn't have a problem with it.
Right.
Unfortunately, I do. And that doesn't mean I want to be secluded.
No, nobody
I
does.
still love my friends.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, it's a different enjoyment for me now.
Yeah. So was there a moment you realized you weren't just not drinking, but you were becoming somebody new?
Never thought of that. If I had to go back to one, it would be when I finally told my dad I was sober. Because I hadn't talked to him. I don't talk to him much now. And we met up one day, and he had asked how things were going, and first thing my stepmom did was offer me a beer. You want a beer? There's a beer in the fridge. I said, no, I'm good. And we talked for about 10 minutes, and sure you don't want a beer? You can have beer. We've got beer. I said, no, I've been sober for a year. And they both just kind of took a step back, like, whoa, you're sober? I said, yep. And then my dad's like, hey, I'm super proud of you. Like, that's a big step. And he's never said that. Like,
Did you
never
expect
once.
him to say that?
No, not at all. I expected the opposite. Like, oh, well, you'll be back. You've always come back. Because that's the relationship we've had. And that type of comments have been made before. Like, okay, you've said this before, but you'll start drinking again. And this time he's just like, super proud of you. Like, where'd it go?
Your energy and frequency must have been so different, and his too, to be able to accept that. When you went over there, were you planning to tell him, or it just got brought up?
It just got brought up. Yeah. Like, the first year, I didn't feel I needed to bring it up to anyone. And part of that was I didn't want to bring it up in case I fell back. In case I couldn't fight the urge, and all of a sudden I'm telling all these people, yeah, I'm sober. And all of a sudden you see me and I'm drinking again. It's like, well, I thought you said you were sober. So I wanted to wait a year before I brought it up to anyone else. So even in the AA meetings, they're like, are you telling anybody you're going? I'm like, no, not yet. I'm just not ready for that.
Yeah. Was the second year easier than the first?
Yeah. There was one time last hockey season, so not this past year, the year prior, was Katie's coworker Jenny had a birthday party, and Jake got, I think, 27 of us together. We went to a Wild game. And we're all down there. We're all at the 7th Avenue truck stop beforehand. They're all drinking, having a good time. I'm the only sober one. Get into the game. They're all drinking. I'm the only sober one. And my wife handed me her White Claw quick, and she's like, I'm going to go to the bathroom. And ironically, everyone got up to go get drinks. And there I sat by myself with a full White Claw. I was like, I could drink this and nobody would know. And just out of the blue, there was some high school kids behind me. Hey, how are you guys? Why are you guys all here? There's a whole group of you. And they just started talking to me out of nowhere. And I was like, oh. So I chit-chatted with them and the dad. And next thing I knew, my wife came back, grabbed it. And
I bet they weren't even real. I bet they were angels.
They might not have been it. Your Honor. Like, I couldn't picture them to this day if I wanted to, but it was truly just somebody out of the blue when I was about to take a drink or wanting to take a drink. hey, what are you guys doing? There's a lot of you. 16-year-old kid. I was like, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. I know we said before we started recording, never a good idea to bring up politics or religion, but has your belief system changed at all?
Yeah. I was never big into religion. My parents never were. I mean, I got my first communion and went to catechism and all that, but never really went to church. It wasn't until my wife's her family's pretty religious. Both kids have to be confirmed, and my wife and daughter go to church 3 Sundays out of every month. Like, it is a thing. As an alcoholic, I thought the world was against me. Anytime something went wrong, I was like, why me? Why me? I get sober and I start realizing it's not why you, it's what are you not doing? What could you change? So then it wasn't until just recently, back in March, I decided I gotta pick something else up. This is right before we started True North engraving. So I'm gonna read books. I'm gonna start reading. Never read a book since high school. Not a cover to cover book. I think I'm on 7 books right now.
Awesome.
And it's all, individual growth and other things. But you start realizing that there is something more. There is meaning to it afterwards. So yeah, my spirituality has grown more in the last 2.5 months than it did at all during the first 2 years.
Wow.
So.
That's awesome. Maybe it was some guiding light guiding you the whole time to get to this place.
Something. Yeah, like I said, I never wasn't a reader, so until now.
Is there any part of your old life that you grieve still?
Yeah. There was, what was it, 2000, I think it's been 4 years now. July 4th, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. My dad had called me and it was the 2nd. It wasn't the 4th, it was the 2nd. And my cousin was murdered by her husband in front of her kids. So we all went out to Denver for the funeral, and I mean, just the story behind it. They got into an argument. He accused her of cheating. She accused him of cheating. They were both drunk. He was high on meth. Shot her in the face twice in front of their kids. Put her in the garbage can and left her. And my aunt and uncle came asking about her. Nope, he had threatened the kids. Finally, I believe it was the boy went home and told my uncle, my mom's not okay, something's wrong. So then they got the cops involved, and this was like July 3rd or 4th. They went over there, and one of the cops was snooping around in the garage while the other one was talking to my cousin's husband, and he'd looked in the garbage and seen my cousin in there. So he smartly removed my uncle from the situation, brought him back out to the car and said, well, maybe Keith will talk to us if you're not here and tell us where she's at. And then, so as soon as they removed my uncle, they arrested him, and that's where they found her. So it's been tough because then I see her brother, my other cousin, struggle. He's now gone through a divorce. Their kids still aren't okay with this. And then just 2 months ago, he's now he got life without parole, and now he's trying to get it overturned over a loophole that the cops didn't read the Miranda rights correctly or something like that. So dealing with that again, and uncle came back a couple weeks ago, and it's all fresh in his mind again. So over there, and they're all drinking, and he's a hot mess, and so.
Oh yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
That's got to be triggering.
Yeah, it was one of those times where had I not been able to leave, I might have faltered, but he started getting extremely emotional, and it's okay.
And when did this happen?
I want to say she was murdered probably 4 years ago.
Okay.
2021. It was right around, was it? Yeah, right around COVID time. So I think when we were out there, everything was pretty much shut down.
Did you know him before he was on drugs and drinking?
No, they came back once a year, but he never came back.
Oh, so you had never met him.
So I'd met him at the wedding. I met him when we've gone out there. So twice, three times maybe I've met him. Maybe a little more because I guess their kids were 10 or 11 years old at the time, so half a dozen times maybe. But being they lived in Denver, we were here. It wasn't that got to know the guy very well. So
That's super tough. I'm sure everybody listening will send those kids some love.
yeah, they need it. It's a struggle, you know. You see them now, and they put on a really good mask. They don't want you to see they're struggling, but you turn around and all of a sudden they're not at the barbecue. They're inside the house, just the two of them, and you know they're fighting something. So
Yeah. Tough. Do you let yourself feel proud about your 2 years alcohol free?
yeah, I do. I've said it 100 times before. I'm done drinking and I've fallen back. So my first year was a pretty big deal. Katie made it a big deal, you know, bought me gifts and kind of just a family thing, but it was like you made it this far. Then when I hit 2 years, I finally started believing in myself. Like, you're seriously doing this. You know, this is true. So yeah, definitely proud of myself.
Good.
So
That's awesome. So my last two questions I like to ask, what is something that you do right now that you hope your grandkids do when they're your age?
just to go for it. You know, when Blake and I decided to start this True North engraving, we've always thought of doing something. Like Katie and I want to start doing rental houses, but you never just do it. So I one night I sat there and I was like, I'm gonna buy a laser. Crawled into bed and I told Katie, I said, I just started a business. We bought a laser. It'll be here in a week. And she's like,
Yeah.
okay, but to do it and don't be afraid. Like, we may fail. This may go nowhere, or it could be something. And I'd rather know that we tried and failed than not at all. So
And I think it's just one step at a time, like actually buying the laser
Yeah.
or picking out a website name or something like that. Cause it's like, sometimes when I'm too exhausted to do laundry and it's like, okay, well, you don't have to do all the laundry. Just take it out
just start one. Yeah.
and put it in its space. And then by the time I start,
You're
then
up
I
moving.
feel like doing it the rest
Yeah.
of it. But it's always just a first step. And when it's big, scary things like starting a business, you know, I mean, I think writing out the goals or
Yeah.
just going for it, just doing one thing. So
Yeah, it was.
yeah,
It
that's
came
awesome.
real when I did the LLC and like all the legal paperwork stuff, because you could buy a laser and say, hey, I got a laser, but I was like, no,
Yeah.
we're going full fledged. Let's do it. So
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
And what is something that you would like to kick? Something that you hope your grandkids, when they're your age, aren't doing?
gambling, because that was one of the vices that I fell into was pull tabs. You know,
When
all
you
of a
were
sudden-
still drinking, or now
after
that you're
drinking.
not?
I mean, even when I played them, but afterwards, you'd get into it, and I justified it. Well, I'm not buying booze, so I can put that money into pull tabs, and
Yeah.
next thing you know, you're sitting there at the bar and you're $400 into a pull tab box, and well, I could have gotten drunk for cheaper than $400. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
So, you know, recently I've stopped pull tabs. I guess is a thing, if it's a thing, but
Totally is, yeah.
yeah, I would say gambling. It was just another vice that I had. So
But you've stopped now, and
yeah, I mean, I the night of trivia, Brianna and I did $20, and even after that, I looked at Katie. I go, it wasn't even fun. I didn't enjoy it.
starts feeling icky.
Like, yeah, I was like, okay, I would have rather spent $20 on more hats to engrave than put it in that pull tab box.
Yeah, but now being alcohol free and you're able to listen to your intuition.
Yeah.
Otherwise, just imagine if you're having drinks and you wouldn't be able to hear that voice in your head saying like, "This doesn't feel good."
Yeah, I would have kept going.
Yeah,
So
awesome. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
no, this was great.
Yeah, it really was. Thank you for
You've
opening
got
up
a
so
great,
much. And
great setup. This has been fun. Yeah.
awesome.
So
Awesome.
thanks for having me.
Addiction is affecting so many people that I know and love, and I'm not always sure what to do about it, but talking helps. I want to hear your struggles and your triumphs. If you want to come on the show, please find the link below to our website to start the conversation of being a guest, or to give me feedback and ideas of what you want to hear on topics of spirituality, sobriety, and the self. I am nowhere near a professional, If you or someone you know needs help now, please call the SAMHSA National Helpline at 1-800-662-4357. It's free, confidential, and available 24/7.